This is the Random Nontendo Podcast, episode 32 for the 2nd of November. I am one of your hosts, Kevin. To my virtual left, the smoking pun himself, Jason.
I love that name for myself. Thank you. Also, it's October. Don't get ahead of yourself. I know the year's moving fast.
Ah, damn it. I always get something wrong. Always get something wrong. God
They're like
damn.
2nd of November.
There's always something wrong with this intro.
But no, besides that, it was beautiful, Kevin. And I love my new name.
And to my virtual right, the 1 year older than last year, Angel.
That is me.
Yeah. Crap. When did we celebrate your birthday?
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago?
It was the Rated KA episode that you guys is that day.
Right. I just didn't remember how long ago it was. Yeah. Somebody from our end had to represent, so.
Yeah.
I had to be there.
Couldn't be me. You had to sub in.
First time in over
we had a
decade.
great time.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes. As you made clear to me on and off the recordings many a time. Yes. Correct. First time in a decade.
I think you wanted it to sink in,
Well, I mean, to me that's a big deal. I mean, I know it doesn't mean much to you, but I mean,
no, it means a lot to me. Hey, but to not my credit, but you did get something out of it. I gave you the best gift you can ask for, which was me awkwardly singing karaoke through FaceTime, where you guys couldn't hear the music, so you just heard me off key singing Linkin Park's New Divide.
Yes, that was good,
and you just have it captured.
But the music in our head though.
But you can't.
Well, that's good.
But we both know that's not the best thing I can ask for. But
no,
that was pretty good, though.
To clarify, I don't just
the
call
best thing
people.
that Angel could ask for is for us to record at 6 a.m.
Yeah, which has never happened.
Day. But you know what?
If we were ever to do it, it should have been on his birthday, Kevin.
No, I was going to say, Kevin actually did give me that option. He was prepared to record at 6 a.m. He was more than happy to do it. I'm just going to insert that in there, whether it's true or not. But he volunteered. He thought like, let's go.
Let me tell you, listener, it was not true. I will take a bullet for this man, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to enjoy it.
But he did offer it, and I was the one that said, like, you know what? Like, just the fact you were, like, ready to do it, like, I'm happy with that. So we ended up recording at 10, I think, or some regular time.
I should also point out,
I think just our regular time.
In case there's confusion among our wonderful listeners, if I'm not at someone's birthday, I don't just call them an a cappella sing Linkin Park's New Divide. It was a karaoke party that Angel was having where everyone was doing karaoke, so there's a reason I did it. Like, it's not like, a friend from my childhood. It's like every October 12th, I'm like, oh man, time to sing him Linkin Park's New Divide. That was a special occasion just for you, Angel, to fit the theme of your day. So, although maybe I should start randomly calling people and singing New Divide. It's actually not a horrible idea.
Yeah. Make a little bit.
You needed the lyrics. You just don't know that. Song,
I know them. So
I'm
one of those people that like. Wait, what did you say? The what song ever?
What?
Did you say greatest song ever?
No, no. What?
Because I was like, that's not you. That can't be right. No, I know. I haven't heard the song.
It definitely is my favorite Linkin Park song. But so hearing you butcher it was a different story. But it's definitely not the greatest song ever.
No, it's not the greatest ever. But yeah, it's a good Linkin Park song. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm good at singing along to a song if it like is playing, and because I could kind of like see where it's going. But like completely a cappella with no lyrics in front of me, yeah, that's tough. So, I mean, some I can do, like the In the End rap I can do, but I can't. That one for some reason just wasn't springing to mind at midnight after being at a 5-hour concert.
Give a little performance for Arnon right now. Just do
one
the rap.
thing, I don't know why it doesn't matter how hard to try. Keep that in mind. It's I'm trying to myself how I tried so hard. That's all you get, and it's not in the right.
That's the
rap. Yeah, but sped up significantly without the right flow. Yeah. But it's the lyrics. Yeah, I speed ran it. See, I don't speed run games. I speed run songs. Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot of catching up to do since we didn't have a random Nintendo 2 weeks ago. I did have a wonderful chat with Angel. Go ahead and listen to that if you want to.
It's a fun listen.
Rated K+A. I was expecting for the JK podcast today. I wasn't expecting Angel, so this was a pleasant surprise.
Oh, yeah. Angel texted us last night at like midnight, and he's just like, "If I'm not there, just do it without me." And we're like, "Oh, okay." But then here he is.
Yeah, I was never not planning on missing it, but I just felt the need to text that. Just because.
Well, it's important to remind us every so often that, like, we're all capable of, or on our own, of doing the show with or without the full group.
So you will
Oh yeah,
one
I'm
day
ready for the podcast without you two.
Yeah, would you ever solo man it? I feel like Kevin can pull it off.
I
but
think
Jason...
I think I do solo man it. No, I'm kidding. There's
Oh,
definitely times where it feels like
true.
I'm solo because
Well,
I
you
just
solo man
rant.
Arnin, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Arnin's definitely, when I put the tracks together, it's just like an entire stream of blue, and then every now and then you'll see me and Angel
like popcorn
with little
kernels.
chunks of blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like once I get going, it's just if I have a thought, I keep going. You're always welcome to interrupt me. I feel like
Jason's
I'm
world.
that's
We're
the
just
death sentence I
living
just
in
gave
it.
myself, but I wouldn't go that far. But you know,
It's Jason's podcast feed for sure.
I'm at least self-aware that I talk a lot. You know, some people maybe don't realize if they talk that much. Or at least I'm aware, which I don't know if that earns you credit, or brownie points back. But yeah, I know my flaws.
Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. But like I was saying, we got a lot of catching up to do since we didn't have in our 2 weeks ago. So some of this stuff might be old news. It's whatever. But I'm assuming that Jason's going to want to start to talk about the Apple event that happened on the 15th.
Yeah, it felt like it was ages ago already. We've had all the products come out since the
and
event.
one of us even owns one of the new products.
Yeah, that's what I actually want to talk to you about. Is how are you liking? Well, there's two parts: the product and the software. So, how are you liking the Pro? Because I have some nitpicks about the software, but I'm curious what you think of the 13 Pro.
So I got the 13 Pro Max in Sierra Blue. The base model, which is 152 gigs. I don't know the gigage. 128 gigs. Yeah, I upgraded from an iPhone 10 that I got 4 years ago. And, I mean, it was starting to die. And I said, you know what? It's been 4 years. Let's get this thing, especially because it has the 120 hertz screen. And I'm loving this thing. The battery life on this phone is insane. So, at my job, I guess I would say I'm not a heavy user. I like medium user. Mm-hmm. But like I would absolutely need to charge my phone probably 75% into my workday. Now, no matter how much I use my phone, I never go below 50%.
Wow.
Which is a huge change from absolutely having to charge it or my phone is just dead for the rest of the day. I have still 50% of gas left in the tank to go through the rest of the day. So that's awesome. The screen's amazing. The 120 hertz refresh rate, you can't really tell it's there unless you actually compare it to like an old phone. Because like 60 hertz is great, and I got my iPhone 10 right next to me here, and I'm scrolling on it, and now this thing seems so slow. The screen refresh rate.
So does it just like feel less smooth, or does it feel jitter? Like, is it like actually like it feels like you see
feels a
animation
little bit of
jitter,
both, honestly. It looks like I can actually see it skipping frames, almost like a obviously not like a PowerPoint presentation, like a slideshow. Sure. But it's definitely not as smooth as before. The animations are so much smoother, which is crazy considering how already smooth everything can look in 60 hertz. Yeah.
It can get down to PowerPoint level. I think it can go down to 10 hertz depending. It's variable to help with that battery life you're talking about.
Well, yeah,
so
exactly.
Theoretically, it could be a PowerPoint.
Theoretically, it can. Yeah. I'm sure, like the minuscule second before I stop scrolling on like a web page that's nothing but text. Yeah, I'm sure it goes at 10 hertz. But aside from that, I'm loading the phone. I'm still getting a little used to the size of it.
Right.
I did have a 6S Plus before my 10, and I'm sure that was bigger than this phone, but I don't know. It's still taking me a little time to get used to, but I'm happy with it.
How are you liking the cameras?
So I'm not a big camera user at all. At all. I rarely touch the cameras. I've been messing around with it. The wide angle lens is insane for sure.
The wide angle's so fun. Yeah, it's been one of my favorite things on the 12. The 13s is 13 and Pro are both way better in terms of the fisheye effect. But it's been really fun to mess with.
Yeah, but I'm taking a picture every now and then. I'm definitely gonna take pictures today because I've got this event that I'm doing after the podcast. So maybe this camera will make me a picture taker. I don't go out enough the same way that you do, so that I could take pictures. Mm-hmm. So that's primarily why I don't take pictures. Like, if I go to a concert, sure, I'll take a picture here and there, but that's about it.
Yeah, to that point, I have, and this is since I started using iPhones. This is accumulated over many, many years. 47,617 photos, which is nuts. And to be fair, to your point about going out, a good chunk of them are of cats. Once I started living with these cats, I take multiple a day easily of these cats. So I'd say about 10,000 of those maybe cat photos. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, I took a picture of my dog as soon as I turned on my phone. So my dog definitely looks better in the photo than she does in real life, which is crazy.
What I find so interesting about these phones is that, like, when they announced them at the Apple event, they felt, the 13s at least, felt like they were literally the 12S. Like, they don't do the S thing anymore, but for those who know their Apple history, there's kind of a tick-tock cadence where there's the tick years with the big changes and the talk years with the kind of iterative changes that keep the same design but spruce up the cameras or add a new feature. In this case, this year it's cinematic mode, which works from playing with my girlfriend's iPhone 13. But what did amaze me was, in playing with her phone a little, this is more like I feel like undersold some of the camera stuff from the 12 to the 13, because like the low light, even on the regular 13, is really good. And I guess it's because they added optical image stabilization, which last year was only on the 12 Pro Max. They brought that to all the 13s, Pro and not. But like, the photos are very impressive without even needing night mode on, or whatever they call it. I was very surprised at how big of a jump that got. Like, some of the daytime photos and good lighting and whatnot are pretty indistinguishable, but once you hit low light and things like that, like, it's very impressive. Which again kind of surprised me. And I suspect the screen's the same thing. Like, oh yeah, okay, it's a little smoother, but then like you're saying, once you start using it, you're like, whoa, and it's like going from non-retina to retina back in the day. You probably can't go back easily. Like, it just feels so old now that 60 hertz, I would guess.
Yeah. In regards to like people saying that this is sort of an S year, it absolutely is. Oh, and like the notch is smaller on the
Are they
on
using
all the models, right?
that added? Yeah, on all of them. But are they using that added space for anything? Because I noticed on hers that like it's just empty.
Not at all. It's annoying.
Yeah, like put the battery percent up there.
Definitely annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they absolutely should. Whatever. But in regards to people saying that it's an S here, it's like, sure, just I saw a lot of comments being angry that Apple's not innovating. I've bought every single iPhone every year for the last blah, blah, blah. And this is the first year that I'm skipping it. I just think to you absolutely don't. If you already have a 12, you absolutely do not need this phone.
100%.
Like you said, this absolutely would be the S year. And if you can't see that and you're still angry, like, get some help. Go touch some grass, because Jesus Christ. First of all, my dude, what are you doing buying every single iPhone?
In this timeline, 10 years ago, sure, because they iterated so fast. But like,
no, not even that. Like, I'm assuming if that person said I've bought every single iPhone, I'm assuming that he's also buying the S year iPhones. Which, yeah, you definitely need some help. Like,
there are now.
It's been 4 years since I upgraded.
I was gonna say,
and before that, I think it was 2 years from my
phone
6S to my 10.
But did they also buy every phone in the line that comes out that year too? Because, I mean, if you're buying every iPhone, it would feel kind of weird.
Well, hold on. We need to defend these people for a second. I'm not saying it's sound logic to buy every phone, but there are a lot of plans. Apple's own trade-in plan. I know T-Mobile and what was Sprint have every year, where basically for like $5 you get the new phone, and your plan just they tack on $5 a month. So, or maybe it's $10, but still. So there are some cases where it's just like the yearly upgrade makes sense because it's part of a broader plan where it's just cheap. So if you want the slightly better camera, if you want the battery boost.
I mean, you don't have to do anything.
So you're talking the full.
I'm talking about people that are like
actually
buying it.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Buying these $1,000 phones. Yeah. I mean, if you have the cash, if you have the cash to, just casually drop $1,000 on a brand new phone, more power to you. But do not get mad that this is not innovative enough for you specifically. Because me going from a 10 to a 13 Pro Max is like night and day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not night and day, but it's a significant jump. The 13 Pro Max was made for me. It wasn't made for you. Not everything's going to be made for you, buddy.
If you want a big jump, my girlfriend had a 6S Plus and went straight from that to the 13. I don't know how she was still using a 6S Plus. Like that thing, I don't know how it was. It's apparently the last iOS that supports that phone. So she got out while she could. But she was such a fan of Touch ID for so long that she refused to upgrade and then kind of bit the bullet when her phone basically was like falling apart at the seams. And now she's out Apple nerded me with everything because she has a better Apple Watch, a better iPhone, and 2 days after getting the iPhone, she went and bought one of the M1 MacBook Airs. So I'm now.
Oh, if only you could do the same.
I know. I'm so jealous. But when we were at Apple talking about the MacBook Air, I did ask, we were chatting with the rep. I asked, how's the launch going? How's it been here? And he was saying it's actually been one of the crazier, more crowded, busier iPhone launch years because there's so many people that have been waiting.
Oh, wait, about
3,
that
4
though.
years.
Someone was pointing out on Reddit that whenever you ask one of those people, they quickly glance at their phone because they're literally reading a script because they say that for every single launch of every Apple.
No. He was being weirdly candid about some other stuff. So I'm pretty confident he was not reading a script off his phone.
Well, next time you go, ask them, and then there's going to be an asterisk that says, "Be sure to be extra candid." They love that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the reason I say it's being candid is because we were talking about the phone because he was asking her how she liked her 13, and it kind of spun into a conversation about how the phone itself isn't that big of an upgrade. And now it's actually even when it was announced, they're kind of oh, okay, so it'll be a kind of okay year in terms of foot traffic. And then they were caught off guard by just how many people that have 3-year-old, 4-year-old phones actually showed up. So that was kind of the context he gave. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I don't know why Mr. Appleman would lie to me after sort of not dissing their product, but not, being like, oh, this is the most amazing thing you'll ever use, and admitting it wasn't that big of a change. So, who knows? But then there's also the software side of it, which I think all of us probably have.
Yes, right? iOS 15.
Yes.
I'm on public beta 2.
Oh, interesting. You're doing the beta. Okay. How do you feel about it?
I always do the betas.
Right, that's true. How are you feeling about it? Because there's some weird little things they did that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but there's some stuff I do like. Where are you at? And Angel, have you upgraded?
No.
Okay, so cool.
So you're not
Kevin.
on 15. You're not on 15, or you just didn't upgrade your phone, right? Because you just got to I'm pretty sure we talked about it on the podcast.
No, his phone's 3 years old.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm not on 15. My phone is from 2018 or 2019, probably 2018.
You can it runs 15 if you want it.
I mean, until it pushes me to do it. I mean, I don't even have the little red thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, until you brought it up, I didn't watch the Apple event. I only saw headlines for minor things that were kind of sort of relevant to me, but not really. So I didn't even know there was a 15 or what it does, if anything. But yeah.
So in a nutshell, it too is kind of a small update. In a way, the big focus is on something called Focus, which is instead of having one do not disturb mode, it has infinite do not disturb mode. You can create your own. You can say which apps you can allow through, which apps don't come through, which emergency contacts can come through, which texts can come through, all that. It's very granular. It kind of is cool in that, if you turn on the driving focus, it will know to automatically turn on with your Bluetooth. But then they don't let you set any other focus to have that sort of automation in quite the same way. You can jerry-rig it with shortcuts, but it's not the same. But it's, I mean, Kevin, how do you feel about it? Because I have some qualms.
I mean, the only issue that I have with it is Safari, not the bottom bar stuff, which you can just replace. You can just have it to the top.
I love it on the bottom, to be honest. It's all in thumb's reach. Even the bookmark bar stays down by your thumb now, which is great.
I'm still trying to get used to it. Every now and then I will reach the top, but sometimes I actually have to actively think about it it's at the bottom.
Yeah, I have that muscle memory for sure. But I appreciate, once I realize, oh, right, it's down there, I appreciate the ease of access to everything. Because the phones are big now.
But the issue that I have is the add a new tab button the plus is now on the left-hand side and not in the middle. It throws me off so much. That's the part that I hate, and that you cannot change.
Do you know the secret that you
could.
can swipe left on the address bar and it'll open a new tab if you're on your most recent tab?
Let me see. Well, usually whenever I close Safari, I close all the tabs. So when I open it, I specifically have to hit that left-hand tab.
Do you? It doesn't take you to your like favorites, like start page thing?
No.
Oh, weird. Yeah, because I have a bunch of tabs open, so I've never really run into that. But yeah, no, they basically did like a secondary nav bar, like the bottom swipe gesture bar that they have on iPhone 10s. Like there's kind of an equivalent on tabs. So if you swipe left, you go to your older tabs. If you swipe right, you can, I think left and right, you can, they got it backwards. Anyway, if you swipe one way, you go to your older tabs. If you swipe the other way, you can open a new tab and keep going, which is kind of cool.
Another issue that I just have that messing around with it. Whenever you have multiple tabs, the way that you get rid of those tabs is different. Now they are windows instead of being stacked on top of each other. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Please give me the option to switch it back.
So the windows I appreciate because you can actually see more on your screen at once. You can see 4 tabs worth of web pages instead of just like one headline and like one tab and then like a hint of another headline or two or title. But to your point, it's a lot harder to close because now there's just little X's on each window instead of being able to swipe them away. And that's annoying.
You can't swipe them away. You can swipe them away, but it's so finicky. It has to be like a perfect line. You can't just go from like the middle of the tab to like the bottom left corner. It has to be a straight line all the way to the left. Which
is true with a lot of the, so iOS 15 like doubles down on those contextual menus. Like if you click something, like a little pop-up appears near your thumb. Kind of like what was the 3D touch, but without 3D.
I lost 3D touch. This is the biggest, is the biggest
I know you
heartbreak.
love 3D touch.
I do not know how to, select text anymore. It's so impossible. Is there a way? Without having to hold down on a word?
That's it. You just hold down on the word and then move around your finger.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I think. But the one I missed, although it still works if you kind of hold down for a second, is you could use like the search bar as like a little cursor navigator. Or not the search bar, the space bar, sorry. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you had 3D touch, you could press down on it. So that's
I know that, but dude, I want my 3D touch. I want to...
Well, I was going to say is even those menus 3D touch are not.
Editing text on the phone just became a whole lot harder for me.
3D touch or not, though, like both of them, the long press or 3D touch both open those context menus kind of under your thumb. Like if you want, if you press in on a email, you can get a little pop-up menu of like, oh, do you want to move it, delete it, whatever. To your point about finicky gestures needing to be precise, yeah, that too now. Like I used to be able to just kind of swipe and it would go, and now I have to like be very precise about, I need exactly move my thumb right here because they added the ability to drag and drop between apps, which is kind of cool. But like now, if you swipe slightly different and you're doing like one of those context menus, it just takes the object, the email, the tweet, whatever, and tries to let you move it somewhere, which that gets a little getting used to. But my big complaint, and to be clear, I do really like iOS 15. I think focuses are kind of interesting if you want to spend the time doing it. I kind of wish they flipped it. Right now you have 2 whitelist apps you want to allow, but if you have a lot of apps, it make a lot more sense to just blacklist the ones you don't want to come through in whatever focus you're doing. Or at least give you the option to do either or, because obviously some focuses like do not disturb, maybe you want everything. Others maybe you want just only 1 or 2 things blocked. Like if you do like a off work hour one, you just don't need your chat app for work or your emails, but you probably want all your other stuff. But if you have to manually add them. But the biggest complaint is actually twofold, but it all boils down to notifications. They changed notifications. And in some ways, they changed the actual notifications. In other ways, they changed how they behave due to the new focus mode. And it just all is for the worse, I'd say. So the biggie is because focus is so granular and everything is really focused on focusing you on things. What Do Not Disturb used to do that was really nice is if you put the phone in Do Not Disturb in iOS 14, 13, 12, etc., you can be using your phone and it will show you notifications, but they'd be silent. They won't vibrate. They won't ring. They just kind of slide down while you're doing something. Now, Do Not Disturb does not do that. And the idea is because it's part of focus, meaning you're supposed to not see them. You're supposed to focus on what you're doing. But if you just want your phone on totally silent and not having to go into settings and actually turn on silent every time, like if you have it on vibrate normally, you can't see notifications. So if I'm like checking my phone before I go to sleep or when I wake up and I haven't turned off Do Not Disturb, I don't know things are coming in. And by default, they don't even show them on your lock screen. You have to re-enable, show the notifications you missed in Do Not Disturb on your lock screen as a setting. It's not a default, which is even weirder. So that's thing number one. The bigger one for me, though, is notifications in general have changed. They got rid of easy ways to clear them out. Like, just completely got rid of them. And I'm curious if they're back in the beta. But basically, you guys, Angel, because you have iOS 14, you get a notification, it slides down from the top, and there's an X button on it, right? Like, you can close that notification then and there as it slides in. You cannot do that.
Can neither
anymore.
confirm nor deny.
Okay, well, good enough. You didn't deny. But yeah, you can't do that anymore. If a notification drops down while you're doing something, you have to either engage with it, like open it, or you swipe it up and deal with it later. There's no way to go, I see you, Mario Kart Tour. I do not care at this moment or at all about, the fall tour with Tanuki Mario is back. Like, that's cool, but I don't need to see that again. I'm going to close it. Nope. I have to wait till I go to my notification center and close it there. And even there, they got rid of some of the gestures. You can still swipe to close something, but you used to be able to either, I think you used to be able to swipe to the right to open it. And now you just tap it and it opens. Which, sure, I guess, but like that's just a weird muscle memory reprogramming. But the biggie for me is you can't close notifications as they come down from the top. And there's basically no X button on them at all. There's also no tally. So if you open your phone and you have like 6 new emails, they will stack the 6 notifications for emails on one little block, but it doesn't tell you there are 5 more under it. You have no idea how many you have. You have to expand it and then just go through them all. So you kind of lose at a glance senses of like how much you missed. It's true for text messages too. Like if you get 14 in a group chat, it'll just show you a stack of them. It won't be like, here, there's 13 more under this like it used to do. And all of this is because they tried to slim down notifications to fit more of them, while simultaneously making the icons bigger and doing something really cool, which is adding people's profile pictures, their contact info picture, to a text message alert, which is actually really nice. But this weird, like, sort of tit for tat moving around, like, okay, we'll add a bigger icon, but we'll take away this button, but we'll add this time-sensitive thing to let you know why it's notifications overriding whatever your settings may be, if you get like a reminder or a calendar invite. All that kind of rearranging they did has taken away some functionality that seemed very simple yet critical. I don't know, like not being able to clear notification when it comes down is weird. Like if I get a text and I swipe down on it, I go into the little pop-up of the text, and the only way to get rid of it is to swipe up through the pop-up, like scroll back up until I hit wherever the threshold is where it's like, okay, you've seen enough, and then it can go back up and go away. But only text messages do that. Then other ones don't do that, and they're just forever there until you manually close them in the notification center. So that's the biggest thing. I'm hoping they fixed it in a future beta. I don't know if this problem exists for you, Kevin, on beta 2, but
it didn't exist. This issue didn't exist for me in regular iOS 15. So, this whole notification debacle for yourself, it just doesn't exist for me. I don't really, like I said, I'm not a power user. The same way that you might be.
I'm not even that much of a power user. I'm just thinking like, a random thing comes in and I can't just get rid of it when I want to. I have to like do it when Apple decides this is the time you now choose to get rid of it. Unlike before where it was wherever they want. But I get your point. Yes, it won't affect everyone. But me and a few coworkers all had the exact same thought when we upgraded. So I know I'm not alone. Yeah. Unite, there's dozens of us. So, but yeah, besides that, that's
dozens of us.
Dozens of us.
Man, that joke will never get old.
Nope.
The Never Nudes?
Yep.
Arrested Development.
Of which there are literally dozens of them.
Literally dozens of us. They finally fixed the bug where your iPhone wouldn't pair, or not wouldn't pair, but you wouldn't be able to use your Apple Watch to unlock your phone.
Yes.
They finally fixed that bug, thank God.
That was only on the newer iPhone 13s and Pros for anyone who hasn't experienced it. But the good news is, if you do have those newer phones like you, Kevin, not only is it fixed, I think, in your beta, they rolled out a proper fix on Friday for all the iPhones.
Yeah, okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was bothering me. I am really teed off at the fact that you have to basically wipe your Apple Watch to pair it to a new phone. That's insane to me.
It's crazy to me that it's going on 7 years with them not figuring out a way to circumvent that. They can do crazy things where you can transfer your entire phone basically on the spot by like scanning a dot matrix, and then you just set it down and you walk away for an hour, but they can't figure out how to not just move the Apple Watch. It's so bizarre to me. Like, they do all this wild stuff with like setting up new phones, but they can't get the watch.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the Apple event.
Yeah, and
and JK as well.
And JK, oh, well, I don't know. You might have to wait a little bit. I'm sure Jason wants to talk about Shang-Chi.
Let's get Angel on this. Let's do something that
Let's get Angel?
Doing.
All right.
Yeah, we can come
Angel,
back to Shang-Chi.
Take your pick. What do you want to do?
Guess.
He's like, oh man, I have to talk now?
Either one's fine. I mean, they're both gonna kind of go together. I guess I might as well get rid of As the Gods Will first, just because, I mean, it's a movie, so it's not gonna take that long to talk about it, and in the off chance you actually want to watch it, I don't want to spoil too much either. But in a nutshell, the premise may sound familiar if you've watched Squid Games, but essentially, very overview premise version of it. High school students are trapped, and the only way to survive is by playing various kids games where losing results in death. The first one in particular, I believe, well, it's not a believe, I know. The first one in particular is Red Light, Green Light, which, if you've watched Squid Games,
literally the first game in Squid Games.
Yeah, the only difference is that in Red Light, Green Light, you get shot down. In As the Gods Will, your head explodes into a bloody mess of marbles due to the magical powers of a Daruma Doll, which, if you're not sure what that is, it's like a traditional Japanese toy figure kind of thing. It's small, round. It looks like it has like a big mustache, really big eyes. The idea behind those is that when you buy them, the eyes are blank. And you're supposed to paint in the left eye when you have a goal in mind. And when you complete that goal, you paint in the right eye. So until then, it's just kind of like a constant reminder of something you haven't accomplished. And I actually do have one in front of me that's pretty decently sized. That's for my Japanese learning goal. So until then, it's going to remain one-eyed. But yeah, just to give you the idea, the movie, like seconds in, already starts with the game already like having taken place. There are students littering the floor in a bloody mess of headless corpses. And there's Daruma Doll, CG animated Daruma Doll. Not the best, not the worst. Visual effects, it's like somewhere in the middle. This movie's from 2014. And the Daruma Doll is just kind of like talking out loud. Like, he'll spin around, look at people, and if he sees anyone moving, he'll just blow their heads up. And then he'll like slowly turn around, and then he'll start saying Daruma Doll, something at the end. And as soon as he finishes saying that phrase, he turns around quickly. And on the back of him, there's a button that says, press to stop game. And, you're supposed to press the button to end the game. And that's kind of where it goes from there. You have some surviving students that go from challenge to challenge. They have to figure out the puzzle. And, yeah, obviously not everyone makes it out. And it's just a bizarre ride. It's very over the top. As soon as we were maybe a couple, maybe 10 minutes into it, where we're like, all right, this has to have been adapted from an anime or something because of just the way some of these things are shot. And sure enough, kinda. Apparently it's based on a manga, and just like the first arc of the manga, because the ending is very much we'll want to find out where this goes, gotta read the manga. Unless they actually plan to make a sequel. But considering it's from 2014, and I don't think I've heard of a sequel or managed to find anything on a sequel, it was either made to promote the manga, or it just maybe it bombed and it just never got made. Because, I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's not bad either. It's fun. It's very entertaining for sure. Very entertaining. But, and I mean, that's pretty much all you can really say about it. So some loose ends that never get tied up. But like I said, that's because it's leading into the manga. unlike Squid Games where, it's a series and some things are left open intentionally to, make you go like, oh man, I can't wait for the second season, which I believe it's already confirmed. It's been confirmed.
It's got to be
Squid Games?
happening. It's Netflix's almost biggest show ever.
I think the showrunner said that there's no plans for season 2 right now, which I would love to keep it that way.
Really, they're not doing season 2? This thing's literally the biggest show they've ever. Wow.
He said no. That's not what I said. I said that there's currently no plans for a season 2.
Which, true, is not the same as there might not be one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Isn't that like Nintendo's favorite catchphrase? Like, there are currently no plans for XXX. And
you mean like how they, later, which we'll talk about next week, denied a 4K Switch, but I'm sure in about 2 years we're going to get a 4K Switch? Yeah.
No, we're not talking about. We're not talking about fairy tale stuff that people are just making up, like the 3DS XL or stuff like
that. Or the Wii U's not being discontinued until the next week when it was discontinued. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
In the moment, all those statements are true.
Keep it with facts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If the other one ends up being true, so be it. But then on the other end of that, you have Squid Games, which is definitely a more grounded version of this for sure. But
sure. Well, this one doesn't. Well, up to this point, hasn't included magic. Just some very odd timing. Angel, what did you think? So, Squid Games. Like, I'm sure everybody and their mother knows what this show's about already. And if you didn't, go back 10 minutes to when Angel explained what the show is. But, what did you think of this show's pacing? Because that's something that I could not get over about this show.
So, about that, the way I basically saw Squid Games was kind of an accident, because I didn't know it was a new Netflix show.
You thought it was Splatoon.
Huh?
Am I right?
Yeah, I thought it was like a live-action adaptation of Splatoon, and
yep.
I just kept going like, all right, where are the Inklings? And then, they don't even bring out...
There are guns in the first episode.
They don't even bring the aforementioned, like, Squid Game until, like, the end, and I was like, okay, well, where are the Inklings now? And like, nope. But
not true. The Squid Game was at the very beginning, and even after that intro, and even after, I still don't understand how that game is played.
I mean, I know what you mean, but I think I understood it. But point is, so I've been kind of addicted to a new YouTube channel where someone essentially like goes into detail over like movies and shows on like essentially going over every decision that characters make and things that they could have done different. I don't know how I ran into it. It's just like something nice to have in the background, and occasionally I'll actually like pay attention. And Squid Game popped up, and it was like almost like an hour-long video. It was like really long, but essentially they went over beat by beat, like episode by episode, covering every single game. And
oh wow!
And I ended up pretty much watching the whole thing that way. And by the time I finished, I started seeing like a bunch of like outlets pop up about like Squid Games, and I'm like, oh, what a coincidence! And then it's like, oh, this is a new show. I thought it was like an old series, or not super old, obviously, because it doesn't look super old. Or I just missed the part where they said like, oh, this is a brand new Netflix series. But I know exactly what happens. Like they pretty much show like everything. It was like a really nice condensed version of it. But yeah, like every motive, everything was kind of like explained and laid out.
You didn't even watch the show, then?
Not really, no.
The trend of Angel.
Okay,
Angel's trend of consuming things.
This is like the ultimate. Yeah, this is like a more ultimate spoiler compared to like how I normally watch a show. Except it was unintentional. If I had known it was brand new, I probably wouldn't have done that. But yeah, just kind of worked out that way.
So this season, or the show, we'll just say show, because like I said, no second season has been confirmed yet, and it's not in the works. But there's 9 episodes, and each episode varies in length. Some episodes, I think literally only one episode is like 30 minutes, which is the second to last episode, and the rest of them go for about an hour. The pacing of this show is atrocious. It is so annoying how slow this show gets, because on top of being like this sort of drama, this sort of psychological horror TV show, It is kind of a character study every now and then, but that doesn't change the fact that you come in here for some Deadly Child games, and it takes forever in between each child game. It just takes forever to get going. So there's 9 episodes. They could have easily squeezed this into 6. It just moves like molasses. It takes forever, but everything surrounding it is good. Like, I'm sure Angel, I'm sure you thought some of the sets that you had seen in that video looked impressive, I would guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, like, the set design is definitely very, very cool. It does that thing that I know a lot of people find a little tropey, where it's this overtly colorful visual style contrasted with people getting shot in the face and there being blood everywhere. But I don't know, I'm fine with it. The characters are all very interesting in their own right. The second to last game that they play is absolute bullcrap. But I will let you viewers see that as it unfolds. But what I do like that this show does is that it does do a good job of creating a sense of dread right before they start playing a game. And I'm not talking about all the in-between stuff, but just literally right before they start playing a game. It's always this question of, all right, they want us to get into teams, they want us to get into pairs. What does that exactly mean for the game? And then all the twists and turns of the actual show are really fun. They're really interesting. The biggest issue that I have with this game is that, considering you follow a few characters, they do have some plot armor. They don't. Not that they do. They absolutely have plot armor. So you know that at least the main 3 characters are probably going to make it all the way towards the end. I'm not going to say if they do or not, but just keep that in mind. And I'm sure when you watch it, you will realize, yeah, these guys have plot armor. There's one episode in particular where it makes it seem like our main cast is going to get wiped out, but I mean, if this is not a spoiler, they do not get wiped out. Because of course, you have like 5 episodes left in the show. So it does create a sense of dread in that sense, but you still don't know, or you do know that these characters are not going to die. Until the very end, at least. You're planning on watching this, Jason, I assume?
I think so, at some point. It's funny, I was telling you guys this before recording, but I walked into the room the other day, and my girlfriend just started it. She was like 10 minutes in. I'm like, oh, I was kind of curious about Squid Games. And she's like, oh. And then just like hit play again and kept going. I'm like, okay. So I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to watch
nothing,
it.
Though, especially for that show.
No. But like I was I should finish the story. I had to go back to work. It was during the workday. So I like came in to get like a drink or something, like, and she's just like, "Oh, okay," and just like kept watching. I'm like, "Cool." So yes, I will watch it.
She's like, "Congrats."
She's like, "That's nice." They hit play. So I will watch it.
That's good for you, buddy. Don't know
when. Yeah, she said she'd rewatch it with me, which, based on your pacing comment, she's saying this 3 episodes in, so I'm not sure if she'll stay true to that, if the pacing's what you're saying. But, yeah, I do definitely plan to watch it because, you know, when I heard Squid Games, much like Angel, I immediately was like, oh, Splatoon. No, but seriously, I have heard very good buzz about it, so. Yeah, it's it feels like one of those kind of like, not cultural watershed moments, but like, not water cooler moments, but like, one of those things where just like everyone's watching it, and there's gotta be a reason, and, yeah, so I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, it is a good show. I wish that it was a little more condensed. But at the end of the day, I did enjoy my time with it. Angel I'm assuming enjoyed his hour with it.
Yeah, I mean, like, the nice thing about watching it the way I did is that I didn't have any of the pacing guides, but because they went in sequential order and they didn't necessarily, like, spoil it right when the get-go, like, they kind of let the game play out the way they did, and then they kind of go back and, you know, show you what, like, they should have done and blah, blah, blah.
This video.
Like, I was still, like, I was still kind of like, oh, like, I was so interested in the story. Like, I got just enough of a sense of a story to be engaged in it, which is kind of why, like, I ended up, like, watching the whole thing. But, I mean, I don't know. It was also just interesting because they also talked about, like, oh, like, that's actually a smart strategy that this character did in this one specific game. or, and that one aforementioned game that Kevin mentioned that was really infuriating, or the second to last one. Yeah, they were just talking about certain things that you could do to essentially guarantee a win, but the rules for that one are also kind of nothing is really guaranteed to work just because of the nature of it.
Last game is like, oh,
it's just kind of it kind of sucks. You just have to, I mean, especially the way some people get away with it, but yeah, it was interesting. Definitely, I almost feel like I wouldn't mind watching it, but kind of knowing that some parts will drag on might make it feel even slower, especially knowing like what every game is and what like they even went over, the outside stuff when they're not going in game. So it's not like I don't know what the main character's dilemma is and, the aftermath of it and a sudden haircut. But yeah, we'll see.
Oh, yeah, that certain haircut, Jesus.
It's interesting how you watched it, Angel, because basically you're doing kind of what sounds like the Squid Games version of like those podcasts.
Spark Notes.
No, well, it's like those podcasts. It's almost like those podcasts where like the rewatch podcasts, like like Scrubs has Fake Doctors, Real Friends, and Office has the latest of The Office, and now Parks and Rec has Parks and Recollection, which Rob Lowe and Alan Yang host. Alan Yang being one of the co-writers. But it's just kind of interesting that you're basically watching the like companion series for it without watching the series itself. But because the companion series has to give the context for what they're talking about, you're indirectly watching the series itself through the companion series. But yeah, all those companion shows are really a thing right now. So it's kind of interesting that I wonder how many people like you are doing that with shows we've all seen. Like how many people are watching Parks and Rec like in tandem with the Parks and Rec podcast versus just like watching Parks and Rec.
To be exposed to a bunch of movies and shows that I feel like I otherwise wouldn't watch, because you get the context, you get the premise, and then you get like kind of the details, and they literally just cut out all the times where nothing's happening. Like,
and you get like insight into some of the the games in this case, or like with Parks and Rec, like the background stories or whatever. But like,
you get extra side knowledge. You get like, oh, this is how the actual game works, and blah blah blah, or just some other random tidbits about like the production. But
it's such an interesting trend. This like companion, like we always talk about how time's limited, there's too much media, but now there's this whole thing where it's like, don't just watch the media, watch media about the media while you watch the media. Like it's just interesting.
In a way,
it's such a streaming world thing.
Yeah, and it is one thing that I guess I do appreciate about this, this day and age. I mean, because like it's as one of our mottos goes, like we only have so much time in this world, use it wisely. And there, to that note, there is nowhere near enough time to consume every bit of media ever. So this is kind of a nice way to speed run some shows that, I mean, unfortunately Squid Game probably would have ended up watching it. May potentially still do, we'll see. But I get to watch a bunch of things that I otherwise would have never even heard of and or watched. And I get, at least some semblance of like, oh, that seemed kind of neat. Maybe it'll go on my radar, but at least now I could still hone in on the things that really are on my radar naturally. Because, not everything is going to hit you. Like, some things you're only going to hear about from a friend or from whatever. I mean, we only follow so many things. Yeah, we only follow so many things on the social media. We almost end up inadvertently we inadvertently end up blocking ourselves from certain things that we may potentially even really love just because of what we follow. I don't know, there's probably some foreign film that could probably be my favorite thing ever. But I'll never know.
I mean, a more blunt example of that, not that I necessarily want to see it, nor do I care about it, but I had no idea that there's an Addams Family 2 that was made and released until like yesterday when someone made reference to it.
Wait, it was released already?
Apparently it just came out last week.
Because I barely found out that it was
existing, right?
Being made last week.
Yeah, so I guess
I think at
here's
that
how
point,
I know. I think it's
I follow animation. I knew about the production of that one, when it was coming out, that it's been out.
I only found out because one of my coworkers was talking about T-Mobile Tuesday and how they can get like a ticket to Venom or something for $4. And then someone was like, what, you didn't take advantage of that with Addams Family 2? And I'm like, there's an Addams Family 2? Like, what are you talking about? When did this happen?
$4 too much for that.
For Venom?
For what I assume is going to be a very bad movie.
You know what's interesting? The reviews for Venom are basically like it embraces what it is and it doesn't try to be anything it's not. And if you want to go along for the ride of the
thing that I hated about the first one.
I've never, weirdly, it's one of the few superhero movies I've never seen. Or supervillain.
You don't have to.
I like Tom Hardy, though. So I'm kind of
bad.
torn. But, yeah.
Yeah, well. What were we talking about Squid Games? Oh, the only reason I saw Squid Games was because I saw one of those, what are they called? I think they're called fan cams, right?
You saw a fan cam for Squid Games?
I saw a fan cam for the main actress of Squid Games, of like her character in the show. And I said, all right, I'm in. Cute Asian girl. I'm diving into this series. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
It is funny. That's the other thing about all these shows and how segmented the world is. We talked about, we talk about how there's stuff we don't know is out. We've talked before about how there's no way to consume everything. It's crazy how you can have, and we kind of talk about how like you can have someone who's in a show. At least I think a few Arnons ago. You can have someone that's in a show, but they're not like gonna be bombarded on the street because the segmentation of the fan bases and the segmentation of the audiences, and nothing's like. It's not like everyone watches a show in the same way. Well, maybe Squid Games now, but in the same way that like everyone watched like the MASH finale in the 70s or whatever, or 80s or whenever that was. But the thing we never think about, the fan bases are huge for these. Like the fact that there are fan cams for Squid Games, and like there's some people that probably have never heard of Squid Games. Well, in the 90s, let's say, everyone knew every big boy band. There's like 7 different K-pop bands. BTS is the only one that's really known because it's the one that sort of crested. But like they have such passionate followings, all of them. And fan cams and campaigns and, fan armies and all that. But, like, because of how much there is, like, it's so siloed off. Unlike back in the day when pop culture was kind of like one bubble.
Speaking of fan bases.
Yeah.
I gotta go on a f***ing rant. And I may burn some bridges with this rant. I may lose some listeners. I'm sure. But I have to get this off my chest. Because I need to talk about the Cowboy Bebop live-action series. And not even the series itself, but specifically the fan reaction to it, because I cannot believe it's the year 2021, and we still have morons out there that just have the worst rhetorical and even serious questions, the worst takes and jokes when it comes to projects like this. And feel free at any point to interrupt me, gentlemen. I may go for a bit here.
I'm going to preempt it with, the views about to be expressed on Random Nintendo Podcast are those of Kevin and Kevin alone and do not represent the opinions, views, or takes of the entity that is Random Nintendo. Please continue. The legal disclaimer there, because I don't know how deep you're going here.
All right. So the first thing... Okay, first of all, Cowboy Bebop, classic anime. Angel, I assume you've seen Cowboy Bebop?
Twice. But yeah, I like it.
Twice. There you go. Yeah, it's a good show. Jason, we already know Jason's opinion on Cowboy Bebop. He loves anime, so of course he's already seen Cowboy Bebop.
To be fair, I actually have seen Cowboy Bebop.
One of the biggest fans.
I have seen some of Cowboy Bebop. I don't know if I saw the whole thing, but I've seen some of it. Yeah, back in middle, high school, somewhere in there. Someone was playing it at a house.
Jesus, we're ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I recall, you said like, wow, it's like cowboys in space. And you're like, I should only one episode like that.
Yeah, I was like, I did not have that thought, but okay. But Kevin, please continue. Before you lose your fire here, keep going.
The steam, yeah. I love Cowboy Bebop. It's not one of my favorites, but I like it. So the first thing that I've seen every step of the way with this show, that I'm sure I will still see up until the very release and probably well after the show is released, is why is this being made? And to answer that question, why the fuck not? There's literally no argument to be made when it comes to this show. It's already gotten the creator's blessing. And then there's those that won't ask but just dictate, this doesn't need to be made. Newsflash, asshole, no piece of entertainment ever needs to get made. Anybody that makes anything does it out of the possibility that somebody will enjoy that thing. And that's it. How is it that we keep recycling the same old talking points when it comes to projects like this? I've absolutely done this before, but I'm like myself. Sure. When I see whatever, a new season of The Walking Dead that's going to be released, I think to myself, sure, why is this being made? But, I'm trying to be better at it. But like, why? You're not going to watch this show. So why even question why it needs to be made or not? literally the only argument to TV shows or movies or games or whatever not being made is like that money can be spent somewhere else. But like the key word that people always forget is can. It's like it's not guaranteed that money will be spent better elsewhere. Like there's the possibility that they could have gotten this money to make the show and made a worse product. You know, like it's so annoying. The other thing is wow, I can't believe Netflix is going to ruin an angle. But there's nothing to ruin. If the show is bad, it's not going to retroactively ruin the anime. The anime is already its own thing. Why is it 2021 and people still do not understand this concept? Why did The Last Jedi ruin Star Wars for people? I don't even like The Last Jedi, but that didn't ruin, you know, the original trilogy. You know, and Star Wars fans are a whole different breed of insane that I could dedicate an entire episode to, but I'm not.
I think, you know what I think it honestly is on some level, Kevin? I think it is a form of gatekeeping. I think there are people, and I'm not defending it, I'm just saying I think there are people that are very passionate about this thing they're into, and when it swerves, they can't roll with the idea that there could be some other interpretation or some other type of fan or some other type of presentation of this thing. And it's theirs, and they hold it dearly, and the fact that they can't let it go is a them issue, not an issue with the IP, but that I think is kind of the root of it. Like with Star Wars, they redid a lot of the extended canon and deeper lore of the universe when Disney took it over, and Last Jedi basically rewrote stuff that people previously within the fandom, I guess, liked or enjoyed, and I guess they could not embrace the fact that there's, you know, multiple split paths you can go down. You still have your extended universe. You still have your books if you want to read those. You still have your movies, but they can't embrace the idea that, you know, now there's this other take on Star Wars. And I agree that's totally ridiculous, but that's probably where it's coming from, is they're very protective and they don't want to, like, bring other types of people and other types of ideas into the fold of their little guarded garden of Star Wars, or Bebop, or Ghost in a Shell is a good example, with that movie doing horribly and everyone freaking out that were fans of Ghost in a Shell, like, you know, Ghost in a Shell, I mean. So that's my guess anyway.
Mini rant within a larger rant. I do not like the Disney Star Wars trilogy, the sequel trilogy. I do not like those movies. I cannot get over the fact that there are people that actually think that the prequel trilogy is better than the Disney movies. You guys are insane. Absolutely insane. You guys think Disney ruined Star Wars? George Lucas is the one that came up with midichlorians, alright? Jesus Christ. Anyways, back to Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
You can maybe argue that the IP, that the Cowboy Bebop IP might be tarnished if this show was bad, but it's not like anybody thinks any less of the Death Note manga and anime because of the shitty Netflix movie. It's so frustrating.
Right.
When you say they're going to ruin it, you actually mean, hey, I think this looks bad, then just go ahead and say that, because everybo's absolutely entitled to their own opinion, right? I would hope, and I've said this before, whenever I say that something is bad, right? What I mean is, I think this is bad, right?
Yeah. Your take on,
I'm sure the same thing for, exactly. But, you know, the internet is a whole different beast, and I'm sure those people actually think in absolutes. And when it's just your own opinion, the only absolute ever when it comes to saying stuff like this is whenever you talk about Sonic Adventure 1, because that is objectively bad. You guys are, alright?
I feel like there's someone on this podcast who isn't me and isn't you who may have a different opinion than that. But
about Sonic Adventure 1?
Angel, don't you like Sonic Adventure 1?
I like it.
There we go.
I mean,
see, there's someone.
I mean, I don't love it, but I mean, I like the game.
The courses are fine. Everything that surrounds the actual gameplay is absolute garbage.
Yeah, because when I think of Sonic Adventure 1, like, I'm literally just thinking the courses. I never really thought navigating the world was that fun. But you know, like, I played Sonic Adventure 2 first, which didn't really help Sonic Adventure 1, but I did like that on the GameCube one. You have so much to unlock. I think I spent so much time just playing those retro games that you unlock. But yeah, that's neither here nor there, though.
Okay, well, in terms of Cowboy Bebop, there's this whole stigma around, and I can't believe I'm about to defend Netflix, this this billion-dollar company that absolutely does not need my defense. But there's this meme, like those 3-panel memes where you'll have a picture of the manga, and then right under that you'll have a picture of the anime adaptation. And then under that you will have a crappy photo of what is supposed to be the Netflix adaptation. That stigma only comes, and I looked, and maybe I didn't look at well enough, but Death Note is literally the only example of a Netflix produced live action anime adaptation, and it was bad, but creating this whole stigma around it is insane to me. I know there's supposed to be a One Piece show coming out, and
oh yeah,
I mean,
you're gonna get the same thing. Wasn't there also a Full Metal Alchemist live action Netflix thing?
Yes, but here's the thing: those aren't Netflix produced. Oh. I know there's a Bleach
they just got the rights,
but the only reason
Attack on Titan
yeah, exactly. They just put their stamp on it because they acquired the licensing. But as far as Netflix produced, right from the jump, it's only been Death Note and this show. That's it. It's people just coming in with a snark that I just do not understand. Now, if you say that the project's pointless, then fine. You don't have to watch it. But like I said, I would hope that you just think that it's pointless. Because if you can look at me in the eye and tell me, hey Kevin, this project is pointless, I don't think it's pointless, I know it's pointless, then it becomes subjective, of course. But I will also think that you're objectively a moron, because when it comes to art, it's 99% of the time, the quality is going to be subjective. What set me off the most, though, and it was once we were done recording last week's episode of Ren Nintendo, was when I saw somebody ask, after the intro was released for the show, somebody asked, is this real or a parody? And I pray to any higher power to please smite this person and never let them try to be funny ever again. Because I would hope that they're not stupid enough to actually think that this is a parody, but they are stupid enough to use the same tired, half-assed joke to farm engagements from other massive fucking morons that probably looked at the tweet and thought to themselves, holy fuck, got him, bam, 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 because it's so easy to hate on this project before it's even released, and they get easily rewarded for making such a easy own. It's so frustrating. In conclusion to this rant, I need people to stop asking such stupid fucking questions, and I need people to also stop going for the easy kill on something that hasn't even been released. Let's talk Shang-Chi. Jesus Christ.
All I was going to say is Shang-Chi's a good example of exactly what you're getting at, which is not that people shouldn't accept things, but you know what happens when you just let the creators do what they want and you just treasure your thing? You could get a lot better things out of it. I'm not saying it's better than comic books. I'm not saying, the comic book fans of Marvel are like, oh my god, the movies are the greatest thing ever. I'm sure they're nitpicks. But the exposure those universes and characters got, the growth of your thing you're passionate about, comic books and superheroes and stuff, into what it is today, and the merch that comes with it, and the opportunities that come with it for Marvel to pour more money into more comics, all of that stems out of you being comfortable letting them try other things. So, Shang-Chi wouldn't exist.
Speaking on all of that.
That didn't happen.
Hold on. A quick points on all of that. The underlying question, the underlying answer to all of it is money. Of course, Netflix is doing this to up their subscriber base. I don't know by how much that would raise, but at the end of the day, it's all money. So if you're asking, why is this being made? It's money. Stop asking such stupid fucking questions, please. All right, let's go back to Shang-Chi.
But yeah, it's, I think people, they can stay in their wheelhouse with the things they like, but if you let the owners of the property, including the creators that sign off on these things often, expand their purview a little, you get some cool stuff like the MCU and like Shang-Chi, which I thought was actually a really fun movie.
I really liked it. Probably in the top half of MCU movies for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting because it, in many ways, felt very fresh for Marvel. Like, it kind of bucked the cookie cutter trend that they often have their origin stories do. It kind of, but at times there are some vibes of like Spider-Man a little. But what I thought was very interesting is it really felt like an amalgamation of all these other things in pop culture. And, just culture in general, because there's a lot of, like Chinese, obviously. There's a lot of, like, Chinese mythological and Buddhist and all that stuff references in there, too, which is interesting. But, I'm just, without really spoiling anything, at times it felt kind of like a Marvel movie, but then at other times it felt like, obviously, a martial arts movie for clear reasons. At other times, it kind of had, like, there's a scene that felt straight out of Jurassic Park almost. There are these, at one point they show creatures that look straight up like Pokemon. At one point there's, like, a breach the wall sort of White Walker, Game of Thrones type of moment. Like, it really felt like this kind of, like, really well remixed look at what has been permeating in our culture, in our pop culture for the last, like, decade or so. And it kind of cherry-picked different elements and shoved them in and put them in a blender, and it came out really, like, good. Like, it was really fun. And it was so different from Marvel because they leaned so heavily on more fantasy and mythological things than typical. I mean, granted, Thor and Norse gods and all that, but this was such a different direction, and that third act, without saying too much, is such a swerve from what we've ever seen in Marvel that really made it feel very fresh, even if the elements were very familiar.
Yeah, that final act, I wasn't expecting to get that ever in a Marvel movie.
Right?
That genre of movie. I wasn't too satisfied with the conclusion, but it was cool that we got it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how else you do that final act. We're not going to spoil anything.
Yeah, we're not going to spoil anything. But I will say, and almost to your previous rant, like, there's no way in a million years that what they did in that final act would have happened if they didn't get the momentum and kind of just ignored some of the diehards. You're like, how dare you do this to my franchise, to reach the point where they could get mainstream enough with these properties to be able to pull off something like that. Like, even if you look at the trajectory of Marvel from, like, it was grounded, and then slowly they introduced sci-fi, and then slowly they introduced, like, interdimensional stuff, and then slowly they introduced this. Like, there's a lead time, and they had to sort of, like, cater to a broader audience in order to bring in the, like, crazy stuff that they're now able to do. I mean, even the fact that, like, they showed the Hawkeye trailer a week or two ago for the TV show, and that's basically a Christmas show. It's like Die Hard, but with Hawkeye, like, in vibe. Like, I don't think if they did that day one, it looks great. Yeah, I don't think day one, if they launched that alongside, like, Captain America and Iron Man, that would have worked. But they've kind of gotten far enough along, and the fans have mostly been okay with letting them experiment, that they're able to do these cool things and actually, in a way, bring the entire franchise. Like, I would say Shang-Chi, in a way, felt the most comic booky of any movie Marvel's done. And that's just because, not comic book in the sense of, like, oh, like Spider-Man swinging through his day, but just, like, the most, like, out there, just roll with it. Like, it makes sense in its own universe, but if you just show that to someone with zero context, it might be like, what? But, like, it works. And that's the thing, because they were able to sort of prime their audiences to get to that point. And it even then had a swerve for designs, and it made it very unique feeling, yeah.
Yeah. Talking about the movie itself.
Yes.
I think the father character absolutely stole the show for me. I think this is probably my favorite villain in a Marvel movie. Before that, I don't even think I had a favorite villain.
He definitely,
maybe like the Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum, but he's barely a villain in that movie.
Yeah, he's more just a sideshow. But yeah, it definitely felt like he had the most direct reason to do what he did. Like, the others, like, oh, I'm bad, and this actually felt like there's, like, kind of purpose to his choices.
Michael B. Jordan's character in Black Panther.
Yeah, actually, the parallels between Black Panther and Shang-Chi, and I'm not just saying that because they're both ones that were able to elevate minority that traditionally didn't get to have starring roles in movies to the extent they did. But just the parallels in structure in terms of how it was kind of more family driven and how there was kind of this other realm, and this, like, there's a lot of interesting parallels there, and it's cool that they both saw such big success off that. Because, like, I think Shang-Chi is the biggest movie of the year and outperformed Black Widow in a pandemic. Had the strongest opening over Labor Day weekend in a pandemic, like, even in a pandemic. So, like, it's really cool that it worked. But yes, I think structurally,
Fast 9 might have it beat.
Oh, you think so? Okay, maybe not. Maybe it was Marvel or for Disney.
Pretty sure.
It might be Disney's best in that case. But yeah, no, it felt more personal and it felt more grounded in a way. Even though everything around it was less grounded, the dad felt grounded, and I thought that really made a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The now iconic bus bus battle, bus fight, whatever you want to call it. The battle bus. We'll call it the battle bus.
Not to be confused with Fortnite, but yes.
No, let's absolutely confuse it. The battle bus scene I thought was a great set piece. Kind of bummed that it happens right at the beginning because I don't think anything tops it. Maybe the
scaffolding fight was super cool.
The scaffolding fight.
The cinematography of that with like the neon glowing before they jump off like onto the scaffolding where they're like fighting with like the neon flashing and the colors changing behind them.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of like Edgar Wright stuff. Like that sort of movie. Like it really
right.
Or mixed with like, I don't know, James Bond, like when Deakins was doing the cinematography for it before he went on to Blade Runner. Like it was very cool looking.
Yeah. I think the actors did a great job. I think Shang-Chi's Simu Liu. I'm not sure how or Simu.
I'm not sure, to be honest. All I know is he had an amazing story for how he got the role. He kept basically hassling Marvel until they said sure, and he was a stock photo guy before that.
Yeah. I think he's great. Awkwafina usually gets on my nerves. She didn't in this, so I'll give her points for that.
Wait, that's her
actress
name?
that plays.
That's her stage name.
That is her stage name.
She started on YouTube, actually. She's one of the few people that have successfully pivoted from YouTube. Yeah. She's been in a bunch of stuff.
She's a rapper.
At this point. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I saying? The sister, I think she's great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the father, he's amazing. Apparently he's like a very famous Chinese actor.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And he's been in some stuff here in America before this.
Yeah, he looked vaguely familiar.
Oh, he was and I'm sorry if I got his nationality wrong, but he was in The Departed by Martin Scorsese is a remake of an Asian movie.
Right. So he was in the original.
He was in the original. Yeah, he was one of the main characters.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if he was Matt Damon or Leo, but he was one of the main characters.
You know, one thing that I thought worked really well, because you're naming off all these characters, is it's called Shang-Chi and it's about Shang-Chi, but it's just as much about the entire family. And what really sealed that to me is and his friend, who Awkwafina plays, what really sealed that to me is at the end of the movie, this isn't a spoiler, but if you stay till the very end of the credits, whenever a Marvel movie ends, they always say, like, Thor will return, Iron Man will return, Black Panther will return. This one said, the 10 Rings will return. Meaning, in the mind of Marvel, all these characters, including Awkwafina, who's kind of starts off as a sidekick but kind of gets to flex her muscle a little too, all of them are considered equal footing. It's not Shang-Chi as a person, it's this world they created and these characters and this family more than anything else. And I thought that was kind of interesting to see for the first time from Marvel. Speaking of breaking the cookie cutter a bit. So yeah, they all were very strong because I guess they're all, in the creator's mind, actually on equal footing, opposed to a lead and some secondaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Great movie. Like I said, in my top half, maybe in my top 10. I really, really enjoyed this movie.
It's just fun. It's very just fun.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I haven't seen What If at all.
I've seen a couple.
I don't think I will ever get to it, honestly.
Yeah, so, I watched a couple and I was like, I'm going to watch them all and talk about it on Arnon. And then I completely lost interest because, here's the thing. It's a fun concept. And each episode, it's an anthology series, it's a fun concept. So one's like, oh, what if Peggy Carter becomes Captain America instead of Steve Rogers, and they kind of switch, and Steve Rogers or not Peggy's the daughter, Carter, and Steve Rogers is kind of like the right-hand man. And what if, then there's another one, it's like, what if Black Panther is actually Star-Lord? Like, what if they grab the wrong guy when they land on Earth? And it's interesting ideas, but it's so fast-moving, they don't really, get to sit on the idea very much because it is basically a 25 to 30 minute animated show. So the first one was the Captain America one, and that one was moving so fast that they didn't get a time to really develop anything. The Star-Lord one was pretty fun actually. And Chadwick Boseman did do the voice. It was his final Marvel role he did before passing away, so it's kind of cool to be able to see him do one last thing like that, even if it was voice only. But it was just so there's no consistency in the I won't say the quality, because animations and voice acting wise they're about equal, but there's not really consistency in the storytelling. So some of them are strong, some of them are weak. All of them are just kind of in terms of when you walk away from it after watching, did you really does it feel satisfying? Is it like, oh wow, Black Panther as Star-Lord, that's crazy what he could do. Like that one is actually interesting where, because it's Black Panther and he's such like a kind of warm soul, if you will, like he actually brings together the galaxy in a way that, obviously Pure Quill doesn't. And like people, like even Thanos is like on good terms with them, with like the ragtag group. Like he's part of them. Like it's all like this sort of like kumbaya. So that's kind of cool, but like, there's not really a takeaway. You're just kind of like, oh, I guess if he was Star-Lord, it'd be kind of friendly. All right. And the whole thing just feels kind of like just, I don't know. It doesn't have the same weight to it. And that's obviously because it's a what if and not part of the main MCU. Yeah. But it's just missing it's missing that little extra piece. It's either missing the emotional hit or it's missing the reason why you should care. And it seems to alternate between those two, at least from what I've seen. I've heard the second half is a little stronger. But among the first half, it was kind of like every episode was missing a piece of the puzzle. They never quite put it together just right. So at least that's kind of my 2 cents. But I do think it's interesting. Technically, it is considered part of the MCU. The best way I've been describing it when talking about it with like coworkers and stuff is it's basically the footnotes. So like right now, there are these little things, but in the MCU in the future, maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, like that one time that like Black Panther was Star-Lord. And they're like, oh, I saw that. Like, it's not going to be like a real thing that matters. It's just kind of these little, as we move further into the multiverse, it's kind of these little, like, side note, footnote, things they can cite in passing, kind of like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. I imagine that's going to be what ends up being for the broader Marvel universe. So if there's one thing to skip, this is probably it. But if you really love everything about it, there is something to get out of it, because it is kind of, like,
more power to you.
Yeah, exactly. And you can have fun with it, but it just felt like it was, like, I don't want to say half-baked, but, like, 3/4 baked, maybe.
Superfluous, maybe?
Maybe superfluous, yeah. And it's funny because like I'm so gung-ho about, the Marvel shows so far. Even Falcon and Winter Soldier, while not great, I was like, I was into it. But this one, maybe because it doesn't have the tie-in, I was just kind of like, I can skip it. Which is weird. I've seen every MCU thing that's come out. Every single one. Oh, no, that's not true. I didn't see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I've seen everything that's mainline MCU. So it's weird for me to like see a new Marvel thing, know it's MCU, and be like, eh. But that's where I'm at.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Next MCU property, Hawkeye, Christmas.
Yeah, that looks
Looking
fun.
forward to it. Based on the Matt Fraction run, which is one of the best comic book runs that I've ever read in my life. So that'll be awesome.
It was a curveball to me. I thought Haley Steinfeld was going to play his daughter, older, but it's actually not. It's someone else entirely. And then the whole thing I thought was going to be kind of just like passing of the torch father to daughter.
I thought that was Spider-Gwen.
Like way... Yeah, it looks way more fun and lighthearted than I expected. Because Hawkeye's such like a play it by the book, like straight at, like such a like boring character, frankly. That I was expecting it to just be like this father-son or father-daughter like passing a torch, and it's way wackier. It looks really fun.
Yeah, like I said, based on the Matt Fraction run that he did back in 2012, which is, like I said, one of the best comic book runs that I've ever read in my entire life. And it's also one of the most critically acclaimed runs for any comic book in recent history. So really glad that they went that angle and not some other weird angle that they probably would have gone if not for, like you said, taking all the risks that they could.
It's also relatively fresh for them to adapt something from 2012. Like, I feel like, again, because they reached this point with taking the risk, but like, they used to have to, if you think, especially if you look at like what DC does, a lot of it's like, oh, we have to take the established stuff and work with that, not this kind of like newer. I mean, granted, 2012 is now 9 years ago. We're old, but still, like, I'm used to hearing, oh, we adapted this 90s thing, this 80s thing, this 60s thing, this 70s thing, not something from within a decade of now. Like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with that, we are done with the episode. Anybody else got anything else?
I don't think so.
Pastrami pizza is really, really good.
As are pastrami tacos.
All right. Yeah. We got our episode title. Let us know what you thought about the episode by dropping a comment on the blog post. You're already listening to us on some streaming service. So if you can leave us a review, drop a review. You can follow us on Twitter. We are collectively at Random Nintendo. Individually, Jason is at JSR7. Angel is at Weiro, WEIRO_O, and I'm Kevin Gomi. Next week, we will have a new episode of the Random Nintendo podcast, where I assume Jason will give us some Switch OLED model impressions.
OLAD. Yes, the plan is to hopefully, assuming the pre-order comes through, which it should. I don't know why I'm guessing it won't, but yes, I'll have some Switch OLED impressions, or OLAD or OLAD, whatever you want to call it. And I think Monkey Ball as well, because that comes out Tuesday. So I'm excited for that.
Cool. There we go. 2 weeks from now, a brand new episode of the Random Nontendo podcast. Assuming, what's the thing that we always say? Assuming our time is not limited by then. Yes. And with that, Jason, take us out.
Don't gatekeep. Embrace change and embrace your favorite things, trying new things, and have a wonderful day.